All right, guys, today we have Arnold Schwarzenegger's Blueprint for Mass training program. Now, this is something that was put out in 2014 by bodybuilding.com and Muscle Farm. Now, this is a program that I've seen many times, but I've never really dug into it. As most of these Arnold-inspired programs, they're actually not accurate examples of old-school mass gain methods, but more so, they're examples of how Arnold might have trained for the last few weeks before a contest. So let's check out the program. We have phase 1 and 2 here. To be blunt, there's no secret method for putting on impressive mass. In fact, it's as simple as this: basic hard training that consists of heavy weights. In a nutshell, you want to be training with heavy weights and trying to push your body to new limits every time you walk in the gym. I like this idea. There's really no secret to building mass. It's consistent progression over time. Your goal should be to consistently do more, whether that's heavier weights, more reps, or volume progression. However, the idea that you need to be progressive every single session, in my opinion, is definitely not the way to go about it. If you're a beginner, you can definitely progressively overload almost every single session for weeks on end, maybe even months. And while this program is definitely marketed towards the beginner or intermediate, I think it's a mindset that can absolutely sabotage your training, especially the more advanced you are. Consistently trying to add weight or reps before your body's adapted, especially in a high training volume, is usually going to lead to you burning out really quick. But let's go over more details so I can give you my full opinion. To add mass, we'll use basic building block exercises with the emphasis of going heavy. Arnold changed up rep ranges often, as you'll see, but the intensity was always to the extreme, and he pushed the weights as heavy as possible. This is where I think anyone who's tried Arnold's training or any old school method has failed miserably. The fact is, Arnold himself rarely trained to failure, and generally he left a few reps in the tank. This is what allowed him to train with such high volume. Many people assume that you should be taking multiple sets or all sets to failure every single workout, which can work when the volume is low. However, on a program like this with a 6-day per week frequency, failure training is definitely something you want to keep to a minimum. All right, so onto the methods here. So we have the 1 through 10 method. So after a warm-up set or 2, find a weight you're only able to get 1 rep. After you perform that 1 rep, take just enough weight off to perform 2 reps. From there, do the same for 3 reps and 4 reps, going all the way up to 10 reps. This is brutal because you take no rest in between sets. The only rest you get is when you're unloading the weights. This was a very effective way to vary things, and it's a total shocker to the muscle. I've actually never heard Arnold talk about this method, and I'm wondering if this even came from him or if somebody just made it up. But in my opinion, it really has no application in bodybuilding training. 1 rep maxes don't really do much to build muscle or even strength. You don't even see powerlifters training with a 1 rep max. Maybe heavy singles, but rarely ever a 1 rep max, especially in training. In general, anything under 5 reps for bodybuilding isn't really enough volume to build muscle, and in my opinion, the injury risk is just too high for the reward. Alright, so the stripping method shocking principle. Immediately after your final work set, take some weight off and get 5 to 10 reps. And then, no rest. Keep repeating, reducing your weight until you're down to the bar, repping that for 20 reps. So I like the stripping method. I think there's definitely some application for this in bodybuilding. Dropping the weight to continue a set is always a great way to add additional volume, but it's definitely something to be used sparingly, and most of the programs like this usually abuse this method. Okay, so max effort. So pick 1 exercise and see what you can do for a 1 rep max. To get there, work up in weight with the following rep pyramid, taking ample rest between each set. So starting at 20 reps, 15, 10, 8, 5, 3, 1, 1, and max. Again, I personally see no reason to do this, maybe to test your strength, but even so, I'd rather test your 5 rep max or even your 10 rep max. All right, so now on to the actual split. Monday you have chest and back, Tuesday shoulders, biceps, and triceps, Wednesday you have legs, calves, and abs, Thursday you repeat Monday, Friday you repeat Tuesday, and Saturday you repeat Wednesday, taking Sunday for rest. So as you can see, this is 6 days per week, hitting an antagonistic split, training each body part twice per week. I've mentioned this before, I really like this setup for fat loss and muscle retention, but usually 4 to 5 days is generally much better for mass gain. And what most people don't realize is that Arnold himself and all of the other old school bodybuilders, they didn't really use this split in the off season. It was actually a pre-contest split. So the idea of using this split and calling it the blueprint for mass is definitely misleading. All right, so Monday and Thursday you have chest and back. Starting with chest, you have flat bench, incline bench, and dumbbell flies, superset with dumbbell pullovers. I love all these movements. Week 1, you have 30 reps pyramiding up in weight, down to 6 reps. Solid rep range in my opinion. Week 2, the reps drop even lower, and then you use the stripping method. I'm totally fine with that, and I'm actually a fan of alternating heavy and light weeks to work all rep ranges, and it's also good for better recovery. Week 3, now it looks like we're getting into the 6 sets of 5 training, which is not bad by itself, but it also just looks like it's random. And I'd actually like to see you go back to higher rep ranges here, as you would get more out of alternating those rather than just the random changes. So week 4, max out. Again, I don't see any reason to do this. At best, it's just testing your strength and not building any muscle. Also looking at the weekly changes, the incline, you start out low in week 1, then medium week 2, then high and repeat. I don't think this is a bad idea, but you would actually get more out of running one incline for a 4-week block, then switching the incline for the next block. A lot of these training methods are just very random, and they could work well to keep it fresh and to keep training interesting, but that's not always what builds muscle the best. A lot of times it's the boring progressive training that builds the most muscle. All right, so back training. I mentioned this a bunch of times that I'm a huge fan of pairing chest and back together for supersets. But that's usually to save time, and again, it's during muscle maintenance for fat loss. For mass building, especially if you're strong, you might need to train these on different days. All right, so you have wide grip chins and supersets of any of the 2 exercises: barbell rows, dumbbell rows, and T-bar rows. I like this as most people have trouble taking sets of rows close to failure, usually letting momentum and form break down first. So adding in supersets is a solid way to make sure you're getting a lot out of each set. For wide grip chins, 4 sets to failure. No issue here. Eventually, if you're doing more than 10 to 15 reps with your body weight, I'd work up to clavicle pull-ups, and then eventually I'd start adding weight on those. For rows, 4 sets, 30, 12, 10, 8, 6. I really like this. I think it's a good amount of volume. Week 2 alternates with a heavier week, which is great. Week 3, now back to week 1 numbers, which is what I think is the best way to go about it, alternating between heavy and light weeks. Now again, week 4, it just seems like they came up with random numbers. Deadlifts 10-6-4 or 5-5-5 or 12-10-8. So I don't think deadlifts should ever be done for over 5 reps. And personally, I don't think conventional deadlifts need to be in any bodybuilding program. In my opinion, stiff legs or Romanian deadlifts are by far a superior bodybuilding movement. And these you could go higher rep with no problem. All right, so next you have shoulders on Tuesday and Friday. You have clean and press, dumbbell press superset with full frontal raise, and then you have lateral raise superset with upright rows. Okay, so in my opinion, there's just too much pressing already in the first 2 days. Heavy benching and incline pressing the day before is already hitting the front delts hard. I would say maybe 1 movement here for front delts max, and the rest should really be focused on side and rear delts. Now, for some reason, Friday shoulders and arms workout is different, which I'm actually all for. There's really no reason to train the exact same way twice in 1 week, and doing 2 different workouts allows for more exercise variation. But either way, the same thing here, there's just too many pressing exercises. So now arms, it looks like biceps are the same for both workouts, but triceps has 2 variations. For biceps, barbell curls, seated incline curls, superset with concentration curls. So there's lots of maxing out here, and again, this 1 to 10 method. Especially on biceps, I'm not a huge fan of that at all. Personally, I'd keep these in the 6 to 10 rep range one workout, and then the 10 to 20 rep range in the next workout. For triceps, close grip bench, skull crushers, and tricep press downs. I love all these movements, but personally, I wouldn't be doing close grip benching here, especially again with all the pressing work already done, on top of the fact that you already trained chest on Monday. Close grip bench, in my opinion, is one of the best pec exercises. If you haven't seen my video on that topic already, check it out. So now you have legs on Wednesday and Saturday. Squats, stiff leg deadlifts, lunges, good mornings, leg extension, and leg curls. Saturday, there's some variations. Swapping out squats for front squats, stiff leg deadlifts for conventional deadlifts. I like the idea of swapping exercises, but again, I wouldn't place deadlifts here, especially if they were already done on back day on Monday. Hip hinge movements are almost always best done just once per week. I personally would even take the conventional deadlifts out of this program. I would stick with the stiff leg deadlifts programmed in once a week on leg days. I always tell people, try deadlifting twice a week and then try throwing in stiff legs again on top of that. It's not gonna end up well. So 5 sets of 8 to 12. Yeah, I think that's a solid rep range. So overall, there's a lot of things I like about this program. I like the higher frequency of body parts, hitting them twice per week. I like that there's some exercise variation and rep range periodization, but there's also a few things I don't like at all. First, the random rep ranges. Again, this could be good to keep it interesting, but the constant change in loading will actually result in less progress, as there's almost always no way to track or program in progression if everything is always random. I also don't like that it's 6 days in a row for mass building. I think at the very least, training 3 days on and 1 day off will work way better. And ideally, cutting that down to even 5 days and just rotating through the workouts would be an even better option. I also don't like the constant use of 1-rep maxes. I don't think it's necessary or safe. I think the key to making this program work, and something that most people fail to do, is not purposely training to failure and to program in progression. A lot of people think they need to train all out every single session. And even this program claims it's mandatory. This is exactly how people burn out on these programs, which is the most common feedback you usually get. To build muscle, you want to rack up as many productive training sessions as possible. If you're constantly beat up and having to take days or weeks off, even though you killed a few sessions, you're spending way too much time just recovering and not progressing. Starting out with 2 to 3 reps in the tank on everything the first week, and then slowly adding weight or reps over 4 to 6 weeks will allow for constant progression. I'd then program in a deload, which is also not in this program, to allow for full recovery and then get right back to it. Alright guys, let me know your opinion on this program. If you've personally used it, comment down below with your results. And if you want to build mass using old school bodybuilding training methods, check out my 5-day mass gain program in the description. Or if you want to work with me directly, get your custom program below. Alright guys, that's it for the video. If you want to see more of the best original bodybuilding content just like this, make sure to hit subscribe.